The average solo GP is dead. Being handcuffed to a practice that only makes money while you're drilling crushes your freedom. Being trapped at the office is no way to experience life. And doing more fillings and crowns ain't the answer to freedom. Stop it. Freedom comes when your practice makes money without you. Freedom is choosing how many days and how you dental. Ready to forge your freedom? Then keep listening to become a super GP and super CEO. This is the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Let's go.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to what's sure to be the best episode of the Titanium Practice Podcast yet. I'm your host and personal freedom coach, Dr. Stephen Freeman. How y'all doing today? Before we get rolling, wanted to ask you really quickly if you can hit that subscribe button, and if you've got time to leave us a review, would really appreciate it. Really helps me out. And also, if you wanted to head over to titaniumpractice.com and get signed up for our Insiders newsletter so I can make sure you get all the information that I've got for you. It's a whole lot easier to do it in print than getting all these podcasts out. All right. With that said, let's get to it. Today, one of my favorite movies that I had growing up was a movie called War Games. It was a movie with Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy, and it was set in the early 80s. And it was one of the first things I remember from it was the fact that basically it's all about Matthew Broderick's character hacking into NORAD's computer system and wanting to play thermoglobal nuclear war. And it was so cool because back then there was no internet. And I remember thinking the craziest part about that movie was the fact that he could take his phone and set it on some contraption and it would gain access to another computer. I mean, what could be crazier than being able to access another computer? Am I right? But again, this was, the 1980s. This sort of thing, never actually happened. And through the whole thing, obviously Matthew Broderick ends up saving the day and, saving his own ass for that matter. And at the very end, this computer asks, would you like to play a game? And games were always a huge part of what my family did. We are hyper competitive people. And I was raised with the mantra of everything's a competition. And if you don't think that it's a competition, that just means you're losing. That is how we were raised. And my sister and I were pitted against each other in pretty much everything we did. It was kind of this whole thing of like, fight for your parents' love and affection. And if that sounds pretty crazy and unhealthy, well, it probably was. For the most part, I think my sister and I turned out fairly well adjusted, so maybe it's not that bad. But on paper, when you say it out loud, it sounds pretty crazy and not a great way to live. But we played board games like there was no tomorrow. That is what our family did and still to this day does for entertainment. My favorite was Monopoly. I'd pay my sister my allowance, which I think was like $2 a week to play with me. And of course I never actually paid her. And to this day, I still owe her all this money from the times that I said I was going to pay her for playing Monopoly with me. But I loved it. I loved building stuff in that game. I loved buying the property, and to this day, I still love property. Right then and there, I could see it all. I wanted to build things, buy property. It was all rolled into, and I was always the car. I know that sounds like dumb and cliche because I know some people always want to be like either the top hat or the whatever, but I always wanted to be the car. So I wanted a car, I wanted to build things, wanted to own property, and all those things are still pretty true today, and it's funny because it's all like wrapped up in a game. But we were very, very, very focused on playing games, and we still are to this day. Whenever we get together, it's pretty much, okay, where are we going to eat and what games are we going to be playing? And even to this day, it's just what we do. And it was funny because my sister probably beat me about 60% of the time, and I won about 40% of the time when we were playing. And then comes along my wife. Now, my wife and I have actually known each other since about 5th grade. But we've been married now for coming up on 22 years here soon, which is scarily enough almost half my life that we've been married at this point in time. But when she came along, she like won all the games, and it doesn't matter what game we play, my wife wins it. It's pretty nuts. But fortunately, she's really kind of helped me win at the game of life, the real one, so to speak. And I always think back to that, and that's one of the things that I've incorporated into my practice is how can we gamify things? What can we do to incorporate games into the practice? A, first of all, because I like playing games. B, it spices things up. There are other people in your practice who are also very competitive. They like the idea of competing. What we do can get very monotonous. Think about a class 2 composite. Num, prep, band, wedge, etch, bond, cure. I mean, think about it. Gosh, that's so boring. Now, like, think about if you're the other person sitting on the other chair and now you're just suctioning for that and you got to hand the microbrush and bleh. Okay, so what we do is very, very repetitive and very, very monotonous. So you've got to break it up. What are the things you can do to gamify the day? And you probably can't do this every single day or every week or whatever it is that you want to do. I prefer shorter increments, so I prefer trying to do something in a day versus saying a week or a month or something along those lines. And it kind of depends on the prize, so to speak. The bigger the prize, probably the longer you need to do it because you need to make sure you're getting your return on investment. You really should be focusing on a return on investment of about 5x to 10x of whatever it is that you're doing. And it doesn't need to be the entire office. Everyone's office is very different, but I've got lots of different departments, so to speak. I've got the insurance department. I got the front desk. I've got a bunch of hygienists. We've got a bunch of doctors. We've got a bunch of assistants. I don't remember if I said insurance or not, but all the different departments that we've got can have a different game going at different times to spice things up. You may want to be focusing on patient reviews. Sometimes that would be included in doing it as a whole office thing, or you may just give that to the front staff and say, hey, when the patient checks out and they give a compliment, their job is to then ask, hey, we have this raffle going on for this little gift basket. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but think about how easy would it be to buy a $50 gift card to Massage Envy or the local massage place and some smelly soaps and lotions and foo-foo things to throw in there and say, hey, and we enter you into a raffle if you do this and off you go. It's super simple to do. The patient wins, you win, and then you keep track of, you even tell them, hey, mention, my name in the review so that we can count it and they know it. And it's real super simple to do. And then you can also then reward the person who's giving or who ends up winning and getting the most reviews with a $50 gift card to say Amazon or something like that. They love this stuff and they go crazy for it. And some love it more than others. But when you get an ultra competitive person competing to win, they don't necessarily care what the prize is. The prize for them is just simply saying, I won. So it doesn't matter what the prize is. They just want to be able to say that they won. To that point, I'm ultra competitive. This past weekend, there was one of our good friends. She goes to a different gym than I go to. It's a CrossFit gym. And they were having this thing. It was a hero workout. I think his name was Ryan Manchin. And so maybe some of you have heard of him or whatever he did. And I didn't find out what he did. But it was this whole thing about doing 200 back squats and running 400 meters in between your reps were 29 and you go run 400 meters and come back and do another set of 29 up until you got about 203, I think was the final number of back squats that you did at 135 pounds. Well, like, to me, I was like, she's like, oh, you know, you get mentioned, you win a prize and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I don't care about the prize. I just want to be able to say that I won and I beat those people. I don't even go to that gym, and I kind of wanted to know, like, how do they do and whatnot. And I ended up winning. I don't go there. I actually, most of the stuff that I do ends up being on a Smith machine. And if you know what a Smith machine is you're just like, that's kind of a joke that someone who does, you know, a free weights would end up being able to lose to someone that does this all on a Smith machine. It's kind of a chintzy way of working out, but it's the best place that I've found that works for me in my life right now. So, but at the same time, I was just excited to be able to look at a whole CrossFit gym and know that I did better than they did. And I thought that was pretty damn cool. And I didn't care about the prize that went along with it. In fact, I don't even remember what it was at this moment. But the point is that ultra competitive people will just want to win, and so they will try to rack up as many wins as they possibly can, and so that they can just say, I won. You can do other things. You can have a whitening raffle. So we use Opalescent Go, I believe. It's the ones with the suck down trays. It's super simple to sell. They sell like hotcakes in our office. They work fairly well. They're not amazing, but they work fairly well. It's kind of one of the best things that I found too, that when you combine simplicity with it, they literally put this, you know, one size fits none tray into your mouth and kind of suck down into it, and it whitens the teeth, and it does a pretty good job of it, which is good. But they can sell these things like there is no tomorrow because it's a low entry point to it. It works well enough. And if you get, say, the hygienist involved and say, hey, I want you to focus today on how many of these you can sell, you will sell a ton of them. Now, if you did that over the course of a month, then the first day they're going to sell a bunch, they'll have a decent amount the second day, and then you will sell the same number amount you did those first 2 days the rest of the month. So that's why I prefer to focus on something that's real simple to do, say in the very short term, because the enthusiasm wanes as time goes by. You can even do things for if you've got a treatment plan, like I've got treatment plan coordinators. And so sometimes what we do is we say, hey, let's see how many crowns we can do today or say this week, because what they do then is they hop on the phone and they try to get as many unscheduled crowns that we've got onto the schedule. So I'm not saying you go out and you manipulate, you know, something and you say, well, maybe it should be a filling, now let's turn it into a crown, you know, to just get it as a crown. I'm saying these things are already in your charts. You just need to get them on the schedule. Okay? So that's a good one. Then I normally do that one for like the course of a week, and you know how many crowns you normally do within a week, and so you can have a kind of a good idea on what it is that you would normally do, so you can figure out kind of your ROI from that. For something bigger like that, you might want to do something. We've done it where we'll either take, say, the treatment plan coordinators, or maybe a specific treatment plan coordinator did a really good job, and we'll take them to the mall and say, like, here's $300 you have, and if it's great if it's a group, because you say, we're going to take the treatment plan coordinators, we're going to go to the mall, and you've got $300 and you have to spend it on yourself. The vast majority of these women in your office are mothers, and so they are so used to spending money on their kids and other people. I make them spend it on something for them. It cannot be something for the house. It cannot be something for their kids. It has to be for them. And so pretty much it has to be something fun. You stay in a group and they have a certain amount of time that they have to spend the money, because what we're going to do is say, hey, we're going to knock it off at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. We're going to go have some cocktails, have some appetizers, and maybe either dinner or just head on home after that. And that's it. And what's cool is because like I think this is coming up on 10 years ago now, that the first time that I did this, and we had a hygienist, and she's still with me today. At the time, I was kind of mad about it because I was like, she wanted a rug. but apparently she had been looking at this rug for a really long time, and it was to go in her reading nook. So like she has a little spot in her house where she reads, and she's always wanted this rug. And like I wouldn't have bought a rug, and I would have told you this kind of more of like something for a house, but this is apparently like her fortress of solitude that she goes to. So I said, okay, that's fine. In my head, I was kind of making an exception for that. But she routinely tells me that she thinks about how awesome the office is. I'll say how awesome I am as well. And that's what she thinks of when she walks into that room, because she sees that rug. And so anytime she leaves or enters it, she's thinking about us. And then what's really cool is if you make them, we have an office private Facebook account. And so that these things come up yearly as a reminder of, hey, they took a picture, and then they're reminded, and a lot of time I'll get text saying, hey, it's been a year, really appreciate it. That was awesome how we did that thing, great bonding experience, and blah, 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 blah. And it turns into this great culture thing. Like, this is what we do. We have fun, we play games, we go out and eat, and those are always amazing things that really help strengthen culture and retention. Because how is she going to feel? Like, I'm not saying that a rug's going to stop someone from leaving. I understand that. I get it. It'll make them think twice, because people are afraid of change. People are very afraid of change, and they know how they're treated in one place. And if they go somewhere else, they may be treated completely differently, even if they're going to get $1 or $2 more an hour. And so they get very fearful of that. And I do typically find the older staff are the ones who are much less likely to leave over a couple of bucks. So it's kind of tough to overcome with maybe some like early 20-year-olds. But we definitely have had folks now who came to us in their early 20s who are now in their, early 30s then. And they've been with us for a very, very long time, and they talk about all these things, and it gets new people excited as well. It's something you can talk about when they come in. Oh, it'll be awesome. We'll do this game, and then you'll win something, or we'll go to the mall, we'll go out to dinner, or another great one. So we've got, you really want a team bonding experience? Say they need to hit a certain goal, and you're going to take them to, we've got Universal Studios down in Orlando, and they do this Halloween Horror Nights thing, and you want to bond people. You literally bond them together when they're scared out of their minds and they're hugging each other and clasping onto each other. When the guy runs around with the fake chainsaw or whatever that's making the noise, and they're scared out of their minds, like they literally bond to each other in that moment of fear, and it's just it's an amazing experience. So if you've got like a haunted house and around Halloween time, go do that. I mean, the Hollywood Horror, the one down in Orlando is pretty expensive. So, for us, we kind of make it, we have to hit a certain amount in order to do something like that. But, most of the local haunted houses really aren't that expensive. And if you want to bond people together, that is the way to do it. Scare the hell out of them. So take them to a haunted house sometime. You can make them earn it. To me, I mean, a lot of the local haunted houses are only like $20 a people. So really, how much is that going to cost to go and do that? And take them in a limit. Like if you've only got a 5-person staff and it's $20 a head, rent a freaking limo and go do this thing so you can have a couple of drinks along the way, and at dinner, afterwards, or before, whatever, set it up however it works for you. That's a great night. It's a great night. And you're probably out, I don't know, if you really did get a limo or something like that, and tipping and dinner and all that, $1,000. Do you know how much it costs to replace an employee? Holy crap, the ad by itself can be $1,000, let alone creating a memory and experience for your staff and your team. And you paid for the thing already, because if you incentivize them to do this, where again, maybe it was a review contest or a crown contest or a whitening contest, or the insurance department needed to be at 105% collections, or whatever number you want to make it to be, you've already paid for it. You already paid for it. So heck, I mean, it's free at that point in time. but you've created a retention strategy that you didn't have previously to that. So it's just a really great way to get the team on board. And it's a great way because you know it. Sometimes you look at it and you start to say, you know what, we didn't really have such a great month, or maybe, and you're getting towards the end of the month and say, I need a little bit of a boost. So what can you do to gamify the situation to say, you know, you don't go and say, hey, I'm $5,000 short. And you never ever say that to your staff. You never say, I'm $5,000 short, so we're going to do X, Y, Z. You just do it because you want to see that bump. You need to do that for your cash flow of saying, I need about $5,000 more to make this month really something worthwhile, or not to lose money for God's sake, or something like that. But you gamify it. And they don't even have any idea. All they think you're just doing is trying to have fun and make the day interesting, which they'll love you for. And you don't necessarily have to be the one to set this up. There's got to be someone in your office that's really good at this and wants to, they'll be like, oh, and it'll be the ultra competitive person too. It's like, oh, I'll come up with something, and maybe they'll come up with a bunch of ideas. And I've talked to you before about the 10-80-10 rule. You come up with the idea, hey, we're going to gamify something and I need your help. And you go to that person, I need your help in coming up with a game so we can do this. And maybe you even need to incentivize them just a little bit and be like, hey, here's $50, come up with a game, or come up with a list of games that we can play this year. Have them come up with, 10 of them or something like that. And we're going to play these games throughout the year. And then they bring you the ideas, and then you just kind of fine tune it to make sure that it works for you. Because they're not going to be thinking about the ROI portion of it. They're just going to be thinking of fun games to play. You need to tweak it and fine tune it in that last 10%. They're going to do 80% of the work, and you're going to fine tune that last 10% of the work then, so that it fits right for you and the ROI is going to happen so that you can get that bump. So my whole belief is about creating as many win-wins as you possibly can. The more people you help, the more money you will make. How great is that? You get helped. They get helped. Everybody wins. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic. And so if you make the day more fun in a way that increases your revenue and hopefully then profit, you've made a more exciting day for them, and you've made more money for yourself, and someone's going to win that contest and they're going to make money off of it. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer to do, okay? So that's my encouragement for you today. Again, if you can hit the like and subscribe button, and tell a friend. If you've got a friend that you think would benefit from this information, I'd really like to have them listening with us. And if you head on over to titaniumpractice.com to set up for the Insiders newsletter, I'd really appreciate it. All right, until next time, my friends, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You've been listening to the Titanium Practice Podcast with your host, Dr. Stephen Freeman. Please hit the like and subscribe button and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Titanium Practice. Questions or comments? Send an email to info@titaniumpractice.com. Join us next time to help turn your average practice into a titanium practice.